The information and opinions presented in this podcast are based on research done at a particular point in time. The fields of medicine, surgery, psychology, etc. are constantly evolving as new studies and movements happen. Please take into account the year of any particular episode's publication, and as new information presents itself, we will do our best to release updated episodes on the topics. Listener discretion is advised for references to medical terminology of body parts. Unless otherwise stated, no one speaking on this podcast is a medical or legal professional and cannot provide medical or legal advice. Welcome to the Trans Field Guide. In preparation for National Coming Out Day on October 11th, we will be presenting a collection of coming out stories from various people in the community. Please take this opportunity to learn from the experiences of others. Thank you.
So let's see, Jake's coming out story, times 3, because there's 3 of them now apparently. The first one I actually didn't really come out per se. I kind of avoided it like the plague, and my actions kind of just outed me. I think I was probably 14 or 15 and identified as a lesbian, but I didn't want to say this out loud to anybody. I don't know why. I just couldn't make the words come out of my mouth. It didn't even matter to who. I didn't say it to my friends. I wouldn't say it to my parents. I think that was the beginning of fear, running my show. So I came pretty close to getting caught a few times, and, parents seeing you kiss a girl or some mess like that. And they kept asking and pushing, and I just kept not telling. And somehow I managed to make it all the way out of high school and damn near to adulthood without actually having to come out to anyone as any kind of gay or queer or lesbian or anything. I don't really know how I managed that, but it happened. Then when I graduated, I just lived as a quasi-out lesbian until I was probably 28, and I got married at 28. I was with my lesbian wife for almost 5 years, and probably about 2 or 3 years into that relationship, I decided that I needed to come out again, this time as trans, and I actually didn't come out to a person first this time. When I figured out that I was trans, I wanted to come out to someone first that would give me a positive response, and I wanted a guaranteed positive response, but I didn't know who that would be in my life. So I came out to my dog, and that worked great. He was super supportive. He's like my number one Safa, no lie. So he got it first, and then of course was my wife at the time, and that actually went really, really well. I was completely, again, terrified. Let fear run the show. I was scared out of my mind. I had no idea how it was going to go, and the longer I waited to do it, the more certain I got that I was just going to lose everybody. I was positive they were all just going to leave me in the dust. This actually did not happen. I am sitting here 38 years old today, and I have yet to even lose one person in my entire life due to being trans or lesbian identified or anything else. And I consider myself incredibly lucky for that. I don't really have any friends in my life that I know of that can say the same thing. And I've met tons and tons of trans people, and even in all the acquaintances I have, I've yet to meet anybody that can say this thing. Everybody has always been like, yeah, I had this one friend and we don't really talk anymore, and I just don't have any of those. I have people that I don't talk to anymore since coming out as trans, but that was at my own hand. I lost touch with them. I kind of just drifted away and let the friendship die. And it was for crappy reasons. None of these reasons were valid, but I did it nonetheless. I think I felt like maybe by keeping them in my life, I was keeping a part of my past around or something, and I felt like I needed to start over. I don't know why we think we need to do that, but myself and quite a few people I've met have done the same thing. It's like there's just a lot of us that seem to do that. Like you start to transition, you're like, I need new friends, I need a new life, I need new friends to go with my new life. I don't know why we do this, but we kind of do. You let some people go and you start to collect new people, and then once you figure out that you don't need to do that, then you kind of go back around and start recollecting the ones that you let go. And this is the process I'm in now. So I came out as trans, and it really went swimmingly, despite how I thought it would go. And I was very fortunate also that I got to transition pretty fully, pretty immediately, and I think that helped with a lot of it. There wasn't a whole lot of time for people to kind of like sit on the fence and hem and haw and wonder whether or not I was going to go through with this or that, or what the changes were going to look like, or there wasn't a lot of time or room for confusion. It all kind of happened in less than a year. It was closer actually to about 6 months. Like, I decided to transition, and then I started hormones, and then I had surgery, and then all the changes started happening, and then like inside of about 12 months, they were just kind of like, bam, well, there's Jake. Okay, all right, let's do this shit. The name change took a little bit longer than that, but I kind of, as soon as the changes started happening, I just pretty forcefully insisted that people would use correct name and pronouns. I've not ever been that guy who was shy of that. And so anytime I came out to someone, that was like one of the very first things I told them. I was like, so this is me, I'm trans, and this is what I need you to do. Period. And I would love to say that if they didn't, I would have kicked them to the curb, but I didn't even run into that. I didn't even get the opportunity to like hardball someone and be like, hey, don't do that. You have to refer to me like this or that. I just never even ran into it. I mean, this was friends, family, parents, current spouse, exes, everything. Everybody was just like, cool, rock on with your bad self, man. I was out as trans. Well, I say out. I was out to the people I had to be out to, my immediate friends and family. And still pretty much let fear run my life and didn't come out publicly as trans. When I came out as trans, and I say I came out to who I had to, I mean that in every literal sense of the word. Like, there was not one person in my world that I would have come out to if I didn't have to. I haven't met too many people that are as closeted as I was. I closed that door tight and nailed it the hell shut. Like, I just did not want to be publicly out. That was like death to me. I was terrified of it. I was terrified of being a danger to my family and my partner and my kid and my friends and myself. Like, I had this misconception that being publicly out as trans, like on Facebook and just out to the world and people I interacted with and ran into and talked to, would be not widely accepted, which doesn't make sense for how well coming out as trans to all my friends and family went. I realize this now. I can't explain it, but that was what I did. I stayed in the closet, hardcore, and lived that way for 9.5 years, except for the people that had been in my life prior and had to know. So, for 9.5 years, I'm the most closeted tranny this side of Mars, and then this big change happened in my life, and my second wife and I separated, and I kind of had this epiphany. I just realized that being in the closet that hard and hiding that hard who I was absolutely one of the things that was making me a pretty unhealthy individual. It was making me so unhealthy. In fact, it was almost like dialing back the progress that transitioning had made in my life as far as being a healthy person. It was reverting back to how I was in the very beginning and just hiding every single thing about who I was by not being publicly out as trans. So I said the hell with that and came out publicly as trans, coming out number 3. And surprisingly enough, but not surprising, that went just as swimmingly as coming out in every other facet that I had ever come out. And I think that was kind of the catalyst or whatever that made me realize that while maybe coming out is scary, it's not as scary as you let yourself think it is. We kind of build it up in our minds to be this big, huge, terrifying, god-awful thing when really it's not that big a deal. And really it's all about your self-acceptance and not everyone else's acceptance of you. And I think the minute you figure that out, then you like liberate yourself. Once your own self-acceptance is all that matters, it's like this sense of freedom kind of washes over you, and you just let go of what everybody else thinks of you, and then you're kind of free to just live your life. But I mean, it took me 9.5 years to get there. I'm terribly curious how long it takes other people to get there, but it took me a hot freaking minute. That was kind of a wild ride. I did it a little quickly and kind of just whipped it out there. and did it on Facebook without really telling anybody I was going to do it. I kind of told everybody after the fact. I just slapped it up on a Facebook page and again said, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I am, here I am, everybody like me, come find me. And they did. They are all coming out of the woodworks now, faster than I can answer them, in droves. And I thought, as soon as I did this thing, I thought, oh, crap, what did I do? Did I do the right thing? But it was funny, the minute people started coming out and started hitting me up and dialing my number and messaging me on Facebook and text messaging me, and like the more and more trans people that hit me up, the happier it made me. The more people I connected with, the happier it made me. And this has been the polar opposite of my life for the last 9.5 years. The last 9.5 years of my life, and really even as a lesbian before that, I equated coming out with just all things negative, fear and death and loneliness and everything bad that you can think of. And really, I shouldn't have. And I did it to such a degree that I wouldn't even connect with other people like myself. I wouldn't even come out to other lesbians or other trans people. It even extended that far. The first trans support meeting I went to, I didn't even want to come out at the meeting. I just sat there with my mouth closed for a hot minute and wouldn't even come out to other trannies. What the hell is that all about? Wouldn't even come out to people like myself. Finally, I did. I opened my mouth at the meeting, and I just wasn't happy about it, but I did it, and I got it over with. But, fast forward, and so now I'm out as having been a lesbian. I'm out as trans, and now I'm out publicly as trans. And then, as soon as I did that, as soon as I came out publicly as trans, I realized something again. I had this second epiphany, and I was like, there's a whole lot more I'm hiding than just that. There's a whole lot more I've been hiding than just being trans and hiding trans from everybody that I know. And that was that I didn't just like women, and I felt like the need to hide that was the same as hiding everything else. Like that there was something even worse about being trans and liking men than just being trans. Again, you'd have thought I would have learned this by now. You would have thought maybe the first 2 or 3 comings outs would have taught me something. I don't know. I'm a slow learner, okay? I'm a little slow on the upchuck, but I figured it out. And so I was like, I'm 38 years old. I have been through 9.5 years of transition. I've lived my life as a lesbian, as cisgendered hetero female for a few minutes, I've lived as trans, and I'm out trans. Really? You're gonna be scared of this last one now? Really? No. So I would say that I came out as gay, but if you ask my boyfriend now, he would say that I'm actually a bisexual. He identifies me for me. But I don't mind the moniker gay. That doesn't bother me either. In fact, it makes me kind of happy. It makes me smile because it reminds me that I am now being the truest to my identity and my authentic self as I possibly can be. And I'm not real label picky anyway. And most of the people that I associate with don't like the labels that I choose and use sometimes anyway. People are not fond of the word tranny. A lot of people are not fond of my use of the word queer. I've caught a little bit of hell for that, but you identify how you identify, and I believe that whatever you're saying, as long as you're not saying it in a negative, derogatory manner, and it's a self-identification term, that people just kind of have to accept how you identify and whatever terms you use to identify that way. It's not my job to agree or disagree with or say how anybody else identifies, so I don't feel like it's anybody else's place to do this with me either. So I just don't worry about it. Now, at 38 years old, I have effectively come out 4 times as a lesbian, as trans, and then publicly as trans, and now I guess as a gay man. So that's it. I would say that my favorite coming out was this last one, and I would attribute that to it being my authentic self. Gay and trans.
Like this episode? Tell someone about it. Resources referenced in this episode can be found in the show notes at transfieldguide.com. Stay safe And remember that I'm proud of you.